The European Union has reached a provisional agreement aimed at boosting ammunition production in the bloc. The deal is regarded as crucial in arming Ukraine for its counter-offensive against the Russian invasion. The program will offer subsidies to European firms to increase production capabilities and to tackle identified bottlenecks. The deal also seeks to replenish fast-depleting arsenals of alliance members. The $545 million plan needs final approval from the European Parliament and other member states. It's expected to come into force before the end of this month. And for more, Trent Murray joins us live from Berlin. Trent, how much impact will this deal have on Ukraine's war effort, especially since there has been much skepticism on whether or not Europe's defence sector can actually keep pace with this need for ammunition and weapons?
Well, look, I think what the EU is trying to send a signal here is that they are in this fight for the long term and that they are critically aware that Ukraine is working through its existing ammunition supplies much faster than was anticipated. And so I think what they've essentially done is throw just $500 million US at it, just shy of that, to try and solve the problem. But as you said, the problem still remains that European defence firms have just not been put in a position of stress like this in decades, really, having to very rapidly manufacture ammunition in order to try and deal with a major hot conflict here on the continent. I think the money will certainly try and help defence firms, provide incentives to them to, as you say, try and erase those bottlenecks which have plagued many of them. But crucially, what it will also do, it's expected, is just to provide a little bit more assurance to EU member states that they themselves can hand over more of their existing ammunition stocks if they know that their defence firms are rapidly working on replacing them. And that is because some EU states have been cautious over handing over too much right now because they clearly believe that they may have to use it in the future. But if they know that there is more coming down the line, then there is a hope, certainly in Brussels, that could just give the added confidence needed that in coming months they can hand over some of their own stockpiles, particularly as Ukraine really tries to ramp up this counteroffensive.
Trent, of course, Ukraine very much on the minds of all those headed into Vilnius for the NATO summit early next week. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg has given a preview of what we can expect at this summit. This starts on Tuesday next week. What are some of the key things on the agenda that he mentioned?
Yeah, I've just been listening to that press conference by NATO Secretary General, and he's really setting the stage for what is going to be a crucial meeting of the world's biggest military alliance. He said going into that meeting in Vilnius, there are three major packages he will be presenting to NATO member countries. They include a multi-year program for interoperability with Ukraine, in other words, to help NATO weapon systems communicate better with Ukrainian ones. He also says he wants to look at upgrading political ties between Ukraine and NATO. He's going to create what's known as the Ukraine-NATO Council. We understand President Zelensky will attend the first meeting of that council. And then the third major element he said he was looking at was an affirmation from NATO members that Ukraine will at some point become a NATO member. We know that we are not expecting any big announcements out of Vilnius itself, but at least laying the language down to provide them some assurance that there is a pathway to full membership. We also heard just briefly as well some financial figures. NATO today releasing its spending announcements for 2023. Jens Stoltenberg said there has been an 8.3% increase in defence spending amongst European allies as well as Canada. That is the largest increase that the alliance has seen in decades. And then just finally, we of course also have to mention Sweden. Jens Stoltenberg said he's looking forward to welcoming Finland for its first conference as a member, but he also wants to try and lay the groundwork to get Sweden in as soon as possible. He signalled that President Erdogan of Turkey, of course, the main country is still holding up their application. He will have a meeting with Sweden's Prime Minister and NATO on Monday to try and iron out some of those remaining issues.
Thanks for that. Trent Murray reporting live to us there from Berlin.